I lived as an ordinary person most of my life.
Dive into the chilling depths of criminal psychology with the infamous Ed Kemper case, where a psychopath with a staggering IQ of 136 left behind a trail of horror, brutally massacring adolescent girls.
I am a human being and I kill human beings, and I did it in my society.
Uncover the sinister details of this gruesome tale as we dissect the mind behind the madness in a relentless pursuit of understanding the twisted motives that drove such heinous acts. Physiological profile of Ed Kemper. In the unassuming town of Burbank, California, on December 18, 1948, a disturbing chapter in history began with the birth of Edmund Emil Kemper III. This story unfolds not as a whimsical narrative, but as a chilling chronicle of a troubled soul emerging from an unconventional upbringing. Edmund Kemper, the middle child among 3 siblings, entered a world dominated by his father, Edmund Jr., a World War II veteran turned electrician. His mother, Clarnell Elizabeth Kemper, frequently voiced discontent about her husband's menial job. Little did anyone know that beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary family, a sinister force was quietly taking shape. Born at an astonishing 13 pounds, Kemper stood head and shoulders above his peers by the age of 4. However, his physical stature was not the only thing that set him apart. Early on, signs of antisocial behavior emerged as he engaged in cruel acts towards animals. At the tender age of 10, he committed a grotesque act by burying a pet cat alive, only to unearth it, decapitate it, and mount its head on a spike. The shocking revelation that followed was a harbinger of the darkness that would consume him. He derived pleasure from successfully deceiving his family about the feline atrocity, a disturbing precursor to the twisted satisfaction he would later find in more heinous acts. By the age of 13, he escalated to taking the life of another family cat, driven by a perceived favoritism toward his younger sister. The macabre trophies were kept in his closet, hidden until his mother stumbled upon the gruesome remnants. His youth unfolded against a backdrop of dark fantasies and a morbid imagination. Rituals involving the removal of heads and hands from his younger sister's dolls hinted at the depths of his disturbed psyche. When asked why he didn't attempt to kiss his teacher, he chillingly replied, "If I kiss her, I'd have to take her life first." The ominous nature of his childhood games, like gas chamber and electric chair, where he simulated execution by gas inhalation or electric shock, painted a bleak picture of the mind evolving within him. His near-death experiences as a child added to the unsettling narrative. Pushed in front of a train by his elder sister and nearly drowning in a swimming pool, he emerged from these encounters with a sense of foreboding that foreshadowed his future. The fractured relationships within the Kemper family became glaringly evident when his parents separated in 1957, leading to a devastating divorce in 1961. Sent to live with his mother, Kemper found himself entangled in a severely dysfunctional relationship. Clarnell, a neurotic and domineering alcoholic, subjected him to relentless belittling, humiliation, and abuse. Forced to sleep in a locked basement due to his mother's fear that he might harm his sisters, he endured further emotional torment. His towering height of 6 feet 4 inches at the age of 15 only intensified the mockery. In a phone conversation overheard by Kemper, Clarnell derided him as a real weirdo, oblivious to the emotional scars she was inflicting. Refusing his affection out of an irrational fear that it might turn him gay, she conveyed a toxic message that further twisted his perception of love and acceptance. The breaking point for Kemper came at 14 when he ran away in an attempt to reunite with his father in Van Nuys, California. However, his father's remarriage and a new stepson shattered any hopes of a stable family dynamic. Sent to live with his paternal grandparents in North Fork, Sierra Nevada, Kemper found no solace in their presence. Describing his grandfather as senile and his grandmother as constantly emasculating, the turbulent environment further fueled the darkness within him. This is not a typical tale of adolescence. Kemper's upbringing, marked by cruelty, morbid games, and a dysfunctional family dynamic, was a breeding ground for a mind that would ultimately plunge into unspeakable darkness. The following chapters of his life would unveil a disturbing trajectory that defied any semblance of normalcy, leaving an indelible mark on the annals of criminal history. taking life of grandparents. In 1964, a restless 15-year-old named Kemper found himself trapped on his grandparents' farm, bitter and detached. His affinity for hunting led to the confiscation of his rifle after a spree of bird killings, intensifying his discontent. On August 27th, his simmering rage erupted into a violent outburst. Following a heated argument with his grandmother, Kemper fatally shot her in the kitchen. The turmoil didn't end there. As his grandfather returned home, Kemper proceeded to shoot him in the driveway, hiding the lifeless body. Contacting his mother afterward, he followed her advice and called the police, revealing a chilling motive. He later confessed that he took the life of his grandmother out of a morbid curiosity, wanting to grasp the sensation of taking a life. When he cold-bloodedly took the life of his grandfather, it spared him the agony of discovering his wife's demise. These gruesome acts led to Kemper's confinement under the California Youth Authority, where diagnostic tests unveiled paranoid schizophrenia, propelling him to Atascadero State Hospital, a maximum security facility for mentally ill convicts. Post-arrest, Kemper's unsettling revelation exposed a twisted fascination with death, fueled by a desire to personally experience the act. Psychiatrist Donald Lunde noted a warped sense of vengeance, stemming from perceived rejection by both parents. The court grappled with the inconceivability of such heinous crimes committed by a 15-year-old, diagnosing him with paranoid schizophrenia. Yet, Atascadero's psychiatrists offered a conflicting perspective, noting a lack of severe mental illness. Kemper, boasting an IQ of 136, impressed them with intelligence and self-awareness. Eventually, he received a milder diagnosis of personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type. His exemplary behavior earned favor among the captors, securing him roles as a trusted worker and even a membership in the JCs. Release. On December 18, 1969, Ed Kemper got an unexpected birthday present, a ticket out of Atascadero on parole. Throwing caution to the wind, the authorities disregarded the shrinks' advice and handed him over to his mother, Clarnell. She had a few name changes under her belt, remarrying and then going solo again, settling in Aptos, California, just a stone's throw from her gig at UCSC. His parole journey wasn't exactly a bed of roses. The psychiatrists bought the act, and on November 29, 1972, they hit the permanent delete button on his juvenile record. The last mental health report painted Kemper as the rehabilitation success story of the century. Imagine if I didn't know his rap sheet. A well-adjusted young man, smart, with initiative. No psychiatric red flags here. As harmless as a kitten. Let's wipe those records clean. Post-Atascadero, Kemper navigated the community college circuit, ticking off boxes to appease the parole gods. Dreams of donning a cop uniform filled his head, but his towering 6'9" stature earned him the affectionate nickname Big Ed, and a firm rejection from the police force. Undeterred, he became the friendly nuisance at the jury room, a watering hole favored by the local cops. Jobs shuffled through his life like a deck of cards until he landed one with the State of California Division of Highways. The only constant? A toxic tango with Clarnell, featuring arguments loud enough for the neighbors to play involuntary eavesdroppers. He described the battleground. Mom and I duked it out. Vicious, violent battles. I'd throw fists with a dude, but not my mom. She insisted on it, over dumb stuff like getting my teeth cleaned. When the piggy bank was full, Kemper made a break for Alameda, bunking up with a buddy. But Ma wasn't ready to let him go, haunting him through surprise visits and relentless phone calls. Financial struggles sent him spiraling back to his mother's apartment in Aptos. In his early 20s, love came knocking. Kemper met a high schooler from Turlock, and in March 1973 they exchanged engagement vows. A year later, Kemper's second arrest shattered their dreams. Her age remained under wraps, but she was reportedly 17, still navigating the halls of high school. Meanwhile, behind the wheel of his 1969 Ford Galaxy, a hit-and-run accident kick-started Kemper's twisted hitchhiking saga. Armed with a $15,000 settlement, equivalent to almost $1,000,000 today, His car became a mobile arsenal, stocked with plastic bags, knives, blankets, and handcuffs. Innocence reigned at first. He picked up over 150 hitchhikers peacefully. Then his little zapples surfaced, and his dark urges took center stage. He played the blame game, pointing fingers at the women he'd later brutally end, accusing them of flaunting their freedom. Society, in his eyes, was as messed up as his twisted mind. The co-ed killer. Between May 1972 and April 1973, Kemper committed a chilling series of murders, ending the lives of 8 people. He targeted female hitchhikers, taking them to secluded spots where he would violently end their lives, using different disturbing methods. He then brought the lifeless bodies back to his residence, where he gruesomely decapitated them, performed disturbing acts on them. In this 11-month spree, his victims included 5 college students, a high school student, his own mother, and his mother's best friend. He admitted that he sought out victims after arguments with his mother, who refused to introduce him to women at her workplace, stating, "You're just like your father. You don't deserve to get to know them." Psychologists and Kemper himself suggested that the young women were symbolic targets representing his ultimate goal, his mother. Initially, Kemper would pick up female hitchhikers and release them unharmed. However, this changed when he offered a ride to Mary Ann Pess and Anita Lucchesa, Fresno State students who never reached their destination. Only Pesci's remains were found in the woods near Santa Cruz in August, while Lucchesa's remains were never recovered. Kemper later confessed to taking the life of Pesci in a brutal way before repeating the violence on Lucchesa. He then brought their bodies to his apartment, where he engaged in disturbing acts with their remains. On September 14, 1972, Kemper picked up 15-year-old Aiko Ku, who, like Pesci and Lucchesa, met a tragic fate. In January 1973, he continued his spree, taking the life of hitchhiker Cindy Shaw and throwing her body in the ocean. He buried Shaw's head in his mother's backyard while she was away. February 5, 1973, marked another gruesome event when Kemper used a campus parking sticker from his mother. Offering a ride to students Rosalind Thorpe and Alice Liu, he shot them and brazenly passed campus security with their mortally wounded bodies. Afterwards, he indulged in violating the bodies of the victims as usual and threw their remains in different locations. In March, hikers found parts of Thorpe's and Liu's remains near Highway 1 in San Mateo County. During Kemper's murder spree, the Santa Cruz area gained notoriety as the murder capital of the world due to the activities of other psychopaths like John Linley Frazier and Herbert Mullins. Kemper earned the monikers co-ed killer and co-ed butcher for his horrific crimes. Took his mother's life. In a chilling 1981 interview featured in the Killing of America documentary, Kemper delves into the twisted reasoning behind taking the life of his mother, Clarnell. It all went down in 1973, when their toxic relationship reached a point of no return. Kemper, with a desire to take the life of his mother festering since he was 8, brutally ended her life in her sleep. It was a gruesome act, in a disturbing and horrific way, leaving the world in utter shock. Cut to 1991, Kemper spilled the unsettling truth. "Before I took down my mother, I knew it had to happen. Either she dies, I die, or girls like her die." This statement peels back the layers of his disturbing mindset. April 1973 marks the peak of his massacre. On Good Friday, a tense confrontation at his mother's house led to a brutal attack while she slept. He callously ended her life, proceeded to dismember and hide her remains, and then took it a step further. Kemper lured his mother's friend, Sally Hallett, to the house, took her life, and hid her lifeless body in a closet. His depravity knew no bounds. The next day, Kemper fled the scene, heading east until he reached Pueblo, Colorado. On April 23rd, he made a chilling call to the Santa Cruz police, confessing to his gruesome crimes. Initially dismissed as Big Ed, subsequent interrogations exposed him as the notorious co-ed killer, providing authorities with the evidence to bring him to justice. Ed Kemper's story goes beyond true crime. It's a bone-chilling account of darkness lurking within close relationships, leading to unimaginable horrors. Kemper's upbringing was a breeding ground for darkness. His mother, Clarnell, subjected him to immense torture, raising him alone after divorcing his father. Locked in a basement and disrespected, Kemper's traumatic experiences undoubtedly stunted his emotional growth. His mental state deteriorated to the point of a diagnosis of being criminally insane and paranoid schizophrenic, leading to his admission to a hospital for taking the lives of his grandparents. However, the fateful decision to release him on his 21st birthday turns out to be a catastrophic mistake, marking the onset of tragic events that would forever stain his name. Ed Kemper's life unfolds like a nightmare, a stark reminder that darkness can thrive even in the closest bonds. Trials. In the legal arena, Kemper's saga began on May 7, 1973, with a weighty indictment, 8 counts of first-degree murder. Stepping into the ring for the defense was attorney Jim Jackson, representing Kemper against the backdrop of an explicit and detailed confession. Faced with limited options, the defense's only play was the insanity card, as Kemper had attempted to take his life twice while in custody. The trial commenced on October 23, 1973, unveiling a courtroom drama. Inside the courtroom, 3 psychiatrists, appointed by the court, took center stage. Dr. Joel Fort, one of these mental adjudicators, delved into Kemper's past, examining juvenile records and exploring the claim of past psychosis. Under the influence of truth serum, Kemper's dark tales emerged, including shocking allegations of cannibalism and doing disturbing and horrific acts with them. However, he would later retract the confession of cannibalism.
I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college work.
Despite the disturbing details, Fort declared Kemper legally sane, asserting that he reveled in the notoriety linked to being labeled as serial killer. The legal battleground in California adhered to the McNaughton standard, requiring clear proof of a defendant's impaired reasoning due to a mental disease, rendering them unaware of the nature and quality of their actions, or, if aware, not comprehending the wrongfulness. In Kemper's case, signs of malice aforethought suggested awareness of the wrongdoing. He himself took the stand on November 1, 1973. His testimony unveiled a chilling motive: possession. He took the lives of his victims because he wanted them, as per his words, "for myself, like possessions." Attempting to sway the jury, Kemper claimed insanity, asserting that only someone with an aberrant mind could commit such acts. He described a split personality scenario, alleging that 2 beings inhabited his body, and when the destroying personality took over, it was kind of like blacking out. The jury, composed of 6 men and 6 women, deliberated for 5 hours, reaching a verdict on November 8, 1973. Kemper was declared sane and guilty on all counts. Here's the twist, instead. Of shying away from the punishment, Kemper, with an eerie request, sought the death penalty, specifically asking for death by torture. Yet, with a moratorium on capital punishment in California, he received a sentence of 7 years to life for each count, the terms to be served concurrently. The walls of the California Medical Facility in Vacaville would confine Kemper, but the legal roller coaster didn't stop there. While facing charges for taking the lives of his grandparents, Kemper underwent a psychiatric reevaluation. Initially diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, conflicting opinions arose among experts. Observing his intelligence and introspection, the California Youth Authority psychiatrists and social workers at Atascadero State Hospital contested the diagnosis. The verdict: a rediagnosis. Personality trait disturbance, passive-aggressive type. Upon arriving at the California Medical Facility in 1973, he faced another round of psychiatric scrutiny, leading to a new set of labels: antisocial, narcissistic, and schizotypal personality disorders. Kemper's legal odyssey, marked by criminal charges, insanity pleas, and shifting psychiatric diagnoses, left no room for subtlety. The jury spoke, and Kemper faced a lifetime within the confines of the California Medical Facility, a chilling conclusion to a macabre tale of crime and punishment. Imprisonment. In the gritty confines of the Californian prison, Kemper found himself doing time alongside notorious characters like Herbert Mullen and Charles Manson. But in Kemper's eyes, Mullen stood out as the one he despised the most. Mullen, a cold-blooded predator with a penchant for taking lives without cause, irked Kemper to no end. Standing at an imposing 6 feet 9 inches, Kemper dwarfed the 5 feet 9 inches tall Mullen, and he didn't shy away from asserting his dominance through intimidation and manipulation. Detailing Mullen's irritating habits, Kemper remarked, "He had a habit of singing and bothering people when somebody tried to watch TV, so I threw water on him to shut him up. Then, when he was a good boy, I'd give him peanuts." Herbie liked peanuts. That was effective because soon he asked permission to sing. That's called behavior modification treatment. Behind bars, he became an unlikely poster boy for model behavior, taking charge of, scheduling fellow inmates' appointments with psychiatrists, and showcasing his craftsmanship skills by creating intricate ceramic cups. Kemper proved he could be more than his sinister past. His talents extended to becoming a prolific narrator for audiobooks in a charity program aimed at helping the visually impaired. However, life took a turn in 2015 when a stroke rendered him medically disabled, forcing him into retirement. In 2016, he faced a rules violation for failing to provide a urine sample. Within the prison walls, Kemper's voice resonated beyond his craft. He became the focus of numerous interviews, shedding light on the minds of destroyers. FBI profiler John Douglas lauded Kemper as one of the brightest inmates he had ever interviewed, praising his rare insight into the psyche of a violent criminal. Douglas even went so far as to describe Kemper as friendly, open, sensitive, and having a good sense of humor. In his own words, Kemper expressed a desire to prevent others from following in his footsteps. During an interview, he urged those grappling with dark thoughts to seek help, emphasizing the importance of talking to someone before those thoughts manifest into actions. Kemper's openness extended to an interview with French writer Stéphane Bourgoin in 1991. When it comes to parole, he faced repeated denials over the years. His initial hit at parole came in 1979, followed by rejections in 1980, 1981, and 1982. In 1985, he waived his right to a hearing, only to face rejection in 1988, stating, "Society is not ready in any shape or form for me." Denials persisted in 1991 and 1994, with waivers in 1997 and 2002. In 2007, he attended another hearing, but was denied parole. Even in 2017, his bid for freedom was rejected, and the next opportunity for parole is set for 2024. Prosecutor Ariadne Simons bluntly asserted, "We don't care how much of a model prisoner he is because of the enormity of his crimes." In 2012, Kemper chose to waive his right to a hearing, highlighting the elusive path to redemption for the man behind bars. Ed Kemper today. Ed Kemper, the infamous co-ed killer, carved his name into the dark annals of crime by extinguishing the lives of 8 individuals between 1964 and 1973. His preferred prey: non-familial female college students hitchhiking in Santa Cruz County, California. A grim choice that earned him the chilling moniker. Necrophilia, decapitation, and dismemberment were the gruesome acts that punctuated his sinister journey. In 1973, Kemper's reign of terror came to a halt with a sentence of 8 concurrent life sentences. What raised eyebrows was his audacious plea for the death penalty, a request thwarted by California's anti-capital punishment stance. Today, this 74-year-old perpetrator resides within the walls of the California Medical Facility in Vacaville, sharing space with infamous inmates like Charles Manson and Herbert Mullen. The Netflix series Mindhunter, released on Netflix in 2017, brought Kemper's narrative to the small screen. Actor Cameron Britton slipped into the unsettling shoes of Kemper, earning a Primetime Emmy Award nomination for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. Mindhunter, lauded by Rotten Tomatoes, unraveled the complex dance of capturing criminals by peering into the labyrinth of their disturbed psyches. With Oscar-nominated director David Fincher and Oscar-winning actress Charlize Theron as executive producers, the show secured its place in the pantheon of crime dramas. Despite his malevolent deeds, she described him as an enjoyable conversationalist with an articulate and captivating voice. Standing at an imposing 6 feet 9 inches, Kemper's physical stature matched his formidable intellect, boasting an impressive IQ of 136. The convergence of his towering presence and intellectual prowess only deepened the unsettling aura surrounding this infamous figure. Kemper's influence transcends incarceration, seeping into the realms of film and literature. He stands alongside fellow serial killers as the inspiration for the character Buffalo Bill in Thomas Harris's 1988 novel, The Silence of the Lambs. Dean Koontz drew inspiration from Kemper for the villain in his 1996 novel Intensity, while the character Patrick Bateman in the 2000 film American Psycho mistakenly attributes a quote to him. In 2008, a direct-to-video horror film titled Kemper, the co-ed killer loosely based on his murders, hit the screens. French author Marc Dugain explored Kemper's dark life in his 2012 novel Avenue des Géants, Avenue of the Giants. Music, too, echoes Kemper's haunting presence, with extracts from his interviews finding a home in songs spanning various genres. Books dedicated to Kemper's grim saga, such as Edmund Kemper, The True Story of the Co-ed Killer and The Co-ed Killer, a study of the murders, mutilations, and matricide of Edmund Kemper III, contribute to the chilling narrative. Songs like Edmund Kemper Had a Horrible Temper by Macabre and California, Ed Kemper by Church of Misery keep his memory alive in the world of music. Ed Kemper's dark odyssey continues to captivate minds, infiltrating various forms of artistic expression. His name remains etched in the grim tapestry of criminal history, a testament to the enduring fascination with the depths of human darkness. Kemper was first eligible for parole in 1979. He was denied parole that year, as well as at parole hearings in 1980, 1981, and 1982. Later, he waived his right to a hearing in 1985. Kemper was again denied parole at a hearing in 1988, to which he responded by saying, "Society is not ready in any shape or form for me. I can't fault them for that." In 2007, Kemper was again denied parole, and this time the prosecutor Ariadne Simons justified the decision, saying, "We don't care how much of a model prisoner he is because of the enormity of his crimes." In 2017, Kemper was denied parole again, and now his next hearing is scheduled to take place sometime in 2024.